Mr. Harris here, and welcome to a new video of chapter 10.3. In this video, I'm going to talk about the audible frequency range of humans, and also we'll be talking a bit about noise pollution. So, first off, what do I mean by the word audible? So, audible meaning the sound that we could hear. So, we could hear. So, what range of frequency can us humans hear? Say, for example, when different keys of a piano are pressed, of course, different sounds are produced. More specifically, the sounds that are produced have different frequencies. And what do I mean by frequencies? Frequencies would mean the number of vibrations per second. So, for example, some sounds they could have a higher number of vibrations per second, while some may have a lower number. So, the unit of frequency is hertz. Okay, hertz, or the short form it's just Hz. Say, for example, the faster an object vibrates, the higher the frequency of the sound it produces, and finally, the higher the pitch that we hear. Of course, you can ask your music teacher more about this. I'm sure that maybe you've already learned about this. But even if you haven't, let's continue learning. So, we can see that we can only hear sounds with a certain range of frequencies, and that is called the audible frequency range. So, what exactly does this mean? So the audible frequency range for humans, okay, this is for humans, it is roughly around 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, and it may vary from person to person. And of course, as we get older, our frequency range will get narrower. So let's see some other frequency ranges, the audible frequency ranges of other animals. So for example, over here, dogs, they can hear a frequency range higher than us. Us humans, we're over here, roughly around 20 to 20,000 hertz. Dolphins, as you can see, could hear, dolphins and bats, they could hear at a wider range. So probably you've seen that some people may be using a dog whistle to train a dog. Of course, we cannot hear this sound because the sound that is produced is at a very high frequency, roughly around 22,000 hertz, and the max that we could hear is roughly around 20,000 hertz. So hence why for us humans we can't really hear the dog whistle. So it's sharp enough to draw the dog's attention, but too high for us to hear. So for this part, we can only hear sounds within a certain range of frequencies. Okay, and that frequency is roughly around from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So next, what is noise? Noise pollution. So noise is anything that is unwanted, any unwanted sound. Say for example in class when you guys are noisy, that is of course when I mean that I don't want any unwanted sound. It could be for example during traffic, when there's construction works, when we're using machinery, or for example as I mentioned in classrooms when I hear and some unwanted sound. So the loudness of sound or the sound level we can measure it in decibels. We have I'll see, yes, it's over here. We have the decibel meter, so it can help us to measure sound levels. So you can see that there is a reading over here. So these sound levels, we can measure them. For example, if it has a low sound level, most probably in country parks on when we're whispering. A medium sound level would be something like talking or communicating in a normal way. A very high sound level will be, for example, when the MTR is moving, or when there is some construction works going on. And we can use the decibel meter to measure these sound levels. Of course, there are some harmful effects of noise, and we call them noise pollution. It is especially common in modern cities or countries, for example, in Hong Kong. Having a prolonged exposure, a very long exposure to noise, it could be harmful for us. It could disturb our sleep and cause stress to us. And to be more specific, when we're using a decibel meter, if there is a reading of higher than 85 decibels. This could lead to damage to our specialized sensory cells in the cochlea. So we've mentioned this in the previous video. You can have a look at that again. And if there's prolonged exposure to this, and if we cannot recover, we could actually lose our hearing. There could be a permanent loss, or even we could become deaf. So we need to protect our ears. As we all know, hearing is super important to us. We must take care of them. Say, for example, when we're using earphones or headphones, please make sure to keep the volume low. Don't blast off with a very loud sound. Do not pick your ears with hard objects, especially your pens, or even I've seen chopsticks. Please don't do that. And of course, there are some other ways to control noise pollution. For example, when we're on the highway or some busy roads, we can build some noise barriers to reduce the effects of noise pollution. So the loudness of sound is measured in decibels, and if there is a value greater than 85 decibel, that could be a huge problem. It could lead to deafness or permanent hearing loss if we have prolonged exposure. As mentioned earlier, noise is any unwanted sound, and it could cause permanent hearing loss or deafness. So let's answer this checkpoint question to wrap up this chapter 10.3. Which of the following statements about sound are correct? So are there options? Okay, let's see. Some animals can hear sounds at frequencies that humans cannot hear. Oh yes, this is definitely true. For example, we already learned about the dog. Let's see statement 2. The higher the number of vibrations per second, okay, the higher the sound level of the sound it produces. Is this correct? Now let me go back to that part. Sound level, huh? Is it over here? Yes. So the higher, let's say the higher or the faster an object vibrates, the higher the frequency of the sound it produces. So it should be the frequency, not the sound level over here. So let's go back over here and read that question again. The higher or the faster the number of vibrations, the higher the sound level of the sound it produces? Not exactly. It should be the higher the frequency. Okay, so it'll be a higher pitch. And finally, let's see number 3, option 3. Sounds of too high sound level can hurt our ear. Of course, that is definitely true. So, statements 1 and 3 are correct. So let's see statements 1 and 3. So the answer should be B. Alright, so that sums up this video, chapter 10.3. We talked about noise pollution, and earlier we learned about the audible frequency range. So for humans, let me remind you again, it's from 20 hertz to roughly 20,000 hertz. And it could vary from person to person. Alright, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!